Welcome to the Intentional Awakening Podcast with your hosts, Kathy Brewer and Terrie Huberman.
Well, hello there, and welcome to the Intentional Awakening Podcast. I'm Terrie.
And I am your co-host, Kathy Gruber, and we're going to start this episode as we do every single one. And I am going to pick an angel card for the day.
Woohoo!
And today we have kindness, which
Ooh.
is ironic because we picked kindness for one of our previous episodes. And earlier, when I picked one randomly, it was kindness. So
Ooh.
I guess today is a double dose of kindness. So be kind to yourself, be kind to others.
Absolutely.
It's a good way to start the day.
Kindness doesn't suck.
Kindness does not suck. No, that is the quote for the day. So, Terrie, what are we going to talk about today?
Let's talk about spiritual bypassing because it's a thing.
It is a thing.
It is a thing. I don't know what you've noticed when you work with your clients, Kathy, and how you go about it, but what I think people are experiencing these days is this really great, if you want to call it enlightenment, call it awakening, whatever, right? So people are leveling up. They're seeing deeper into things more. They're making more meaning out of their life, which is like chef's kiss wonderful, which is what we want because we need to evolve. But a lot of the times, I think the unbalance, if we were going to talk about a scale of balance, is that a lot of times people are thinking and feeling that they have to escape the human part of themselves. And they can't because by spiritual law and physical reality, we're wearing earth suits. So we have to abide by the rules and regulations and the universal laws of planet Earth, right?
Yes.
And so that can be at many times very painful to be an earthling, to be a human being.
Yes.
It's not exactly all lollipops and unicorns, right? And when we experience these moments, if you want to call it, where we actually connect with our soul or our inner being, we oftentimes notice there's this sense of just like openness. They call it bliss, but it's just like, if you want to, I think maybe a better way of saying it is maybe non-attachment, right? So all of a sudden there's this freedom. And when you're free, you can feel joy and you can feel all these wonderful things. And it feels way better than the pain of being human. So once you've tasted that, or once you've had that experience, you want to have it again and again and again and again and again. At least that's been my experience. And
Sure.
So a lot of times, and I've done this in the past, and I do find myself at different levels or areas or times in my life where I sort of chase that desire to be happy again, that freedom, that bliss, that detachment where nothing matters and everything is okay.
Yep.
And chasing it isn't, I mean, it's okay to want to have it again and then to sort of practice intention of having it. But the problem with a lot of people is this distortion of the fact that if they ignore the human part or the physical reality part, that that's the way it needs to be, should be, or whatever.
Right. They think
Does that
they're
make
supposed
sense?
to be doing. Sure. They think
Right.
they're supposed to be doing. Well, I'm spirit now, so I shouldn't worry
Yeah.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hear people talking about spiritual bypassing, and I've heard people almost use the term spiritual bypassing as a spiritual bypass.
Yeah.
You know, like
Hey.
that's the buzzword. Oh, they're spiritually bypassing, and it's like,
Yeah.
So I decided to look up that term.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said before we got on the air, I know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that I could have explained what it was. So,
Mm-hmm.
according to Dr. Google, Spiritual bypassing refers to the tendency to use spiritual beliefs and
Mm-hmm.
practices to avoid dealing with difficult emotions,
Mm-hmm.
psychological wounds, and unresolved personal issues.
Mm-hmm.
It involves using spiritual concepts to sidestep or suppress painful feelings or experiences rather than confronting them directly. Essentially, it's using spirituality as a way to avoid facing one's unfinished business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because the example they give is, as they said, a person might say, I don't feel sad. I'm just experiencing divine joy to
Mm-hmm.
avoid acknowledging a painful feeling. And what's interesting is one of the books that I'm reading on awakening called Awake, good title,
Wow.
was talking about emotions and said it's not the emotion that's the issue, it's your emotion about the emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like if I get upset about something and then I'm upset that I'm upset because
Mm-hmm.
I'm so awake now, I shouldn't have that
Mm-hmm.
feeling. That's spiritual bypassing of
Mm-hmm.
not acknowledging and accepting, hey, I'm human. The guy cut me off and then hit my
Correct.
car. Of course I'm pissed at him. Right.
Yes.
So there was a sort of, to me, this nebulous talk of spiritual bypassing, but not for this Capricorn, a very good concrete definition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. So you're right, we are stuck in this meat suit and we're
Yeah.
here on this planet, and there are times that things suck.
Yeah.
And there are times that we get upset or sad. If something would happen to my husband, my cat, I'm going to grieve that.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I'm not spiritual. That means that I'm
Right.
human
Right.
and
Right.
I am human. And even my husband said to me the other day, I don't remember what the situation was. And he said, I know you're doing this awakening thing, but you still have to deal with being on this planet and dealing with all this crap or something to that
Yeah.
effect. And I'm like, yeah,
I
100%
know.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think it's really easy for us to chalk all that up to, oh, well, I shouldn't be feeling these things. I'm so above that now. That's
Yeah.
not what awakening's about. That's not what
No.
spirituality is about.
No.
Um, if someone finds themselves falling into that trap, do you have a recommendation of what they can do to not head down that take off that off ramp of bypass?
Well, I mean, I think it's going to reflect in their world, in their inner reality. They're going to lose friends. Their parents are going to say
Oh,
something to them. So you don't have an awareness when you're in that place. And that's okay
hmm
because that's part of the process of evolving and
right,
uniting the higher soul and the lower soul, which is really the ego. And so this is like a lot
right.
of
So you're
soul
saying, so
work.
you're saying they don't have the awareness that they're
They don't
bypassing.
have the
Of
awareness that
course.
they're
Okay.
bypassing. So the first thing I would say is, yeah, get awareness, but you don't necessarily get awareness until your outside world is reflecting on you. And then you're like, whoa, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. I don't like it. And I'm sick and tired. You could literally physically be sick. You could be in so much pain that your spirit team is like not so gently nudging you into a certain direction, right? So then all of
hmm
a sudden you're like, I don't like this. I'm fully ready to make a change, right? But that all has to do with awareness. So if you're not aware that you're spiritually bypassing, you can't change what you don't know. So
Sure.
if you're not aware of it, but you will be shown that it's not working at some point. Now, that's not to say we're also talking extremes when we're talking about spiritual bypassing, because it's not to say that you can't use spiritual tools and all of that stuff,
Sure. Of course. Absolutely.
but there is, again, it's this scale. And right now that scale is distorted, it's out of whack or whatever. And it's a bypass. It's literally a bypass. I don't want to deal with being human right now because right now it just sucks to be
Mm,
human. So it's really more of a human bypass than it is a spiritual bypass. But, that's when people will start going to psychics like every single week. Like I've had that where they're coming, I can't make this decision. I don't know what to do. It's like you have to deal with your humans so that you can find out what is best for you to do. They'll go to shamans,
yep.
they'll go, all the
Oh,
crystals, they'll become vegan even, because we're talking about energy, right? So,
sure.
but there's so many ways that you can shift energy in a way more balanced manner. So,
It's so interesting. Okay, so spiritual bypassing in my little reality is
Yeah.
a very new term. Like,
Mm,
I don't know that I heard that before 5 years ago.
mm,
Now, just because we didn't have the term doesn't mean it hasn't been happening, right? So
correct.
I had a massage therapist friend who she would not take a dump unless she asked her pendulum.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
being facetious, of course,
Of
but
course, but
like
it's
for
true. There are people.
everything, oh, I didn't know, or the people are doing the muscle testing in the grocery
Hmm.
store. Buy an orange. Like this bullshit of holding it's an orange. Um, but of course, then I'm going to turn to the computer again to ask this question for a couple examples. So
Yeah,
we're saying how you don't have the awareness. If you don't have the awareness, then you have to be aware to have the awareness.
correct.
That's a complicated chain, right? So
Yeah.
if you're using positive thinking to avoid real problems,
Hmm.
this sort of almost toxic happiness of everything will work out, it's okay, the world is good, that kind of thing. Ignoring the need for self-care.
Yeah.
You stop showering because you're too busy meditating.
Big
Um,
time. Big
Claiming to
time.
have no attachment and avoiding human contact and intimacy. So if I totally understand wanting to escape the world. I totally understand wanting to sit on a mountaintop and just ohm for a couple days and not be around other humans. But we're functioning in a society where you need to be probably need to
You
be
have to
around other
show
humans.
up.
So
Yeah.
you have to show up. And then finally, the other one is dismissing the importance of personal responsibility in favor of purely spiritual perspective. You still have to pay your bills. You
Yeah.
still have to show up to work. You still, unless you're just this independently wealthy person where you don't have to do those things.
Right.
But the problem with spiritual bypassing is it actually prohibits the growth and it gives you this sense of superiority of, oh, look how none of this bothers me. You know,
Right.
um,
And
I have
eventually
a
that's that I'm sorry, but that's
no
going to
go.
crumble. That's going to
Mm,
crumble eventually. So you
yeah,
might be high and mighty for like 4, 5, 6 years, but then the fall is a big fall.
it's a big fall. And that's not what awakening is about.
No,
Awakening isn't about superiority.
no,
So if you're listening to this and you think you're so much better than us because you're not dealing with these issues that we are dealing with, that does not make you awake. That makes you
no.
arrogant and
Correct.
probably misguided. So if you have a guru that's telling you that this is the way to do it, they're maybe not giving you the right information and you might want to ask somebody else. What I was about to say, I have a dear friend of mine who's very much on the path of awakening. Um, it's not a linear path, so I can't say she's further ahead than me.
Yeah.
But she's had some bigger, like, boom experiences where I've had more subtle ones over time. But at any rate, we were having a conversation and I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "What is your day like? Like, what does your daily life look like?" And that didn't register for her. And I said, "Let me ask you this. Do you still have worry thoughts? Do you still get mad at the guy that cuts you off on the freeway? Do you still get frustrated at the line at CVS?" And she goes, "Okay, I get what you're asking." And then she kind of chuckled and she goes, "Yeah, of course I do, but I know it's not real."
Well,
And
that's
I
what,
went,
yeah, that can get sticky when you say it's an illusion. That's a whole other, episode. But I understand what she's saying because from an energetic perspective,
"Yeah,
if you understand how energy works, and we're talking like the science-based energy, you
right.
understand that energy is constantly moving. So it's not that you shouldn't be judging yourself for having an emotion. What you're
That's what
doing
she
is
was
you're
talking about."
giving yourself permission to move the emotion through you,
Hmm.
and you're just not giving it the attention, meaning you're not giving it your life force. You have the awareness, you're observing, you're like, I'm mad, I'm sad, I'm angry, but I'm not the anger. This is the Buddhist way of
Yep,
doing it. And for me personally, what I teach my clients is like when you understand a science-based model, that can actually help you take you out of, let's say, the spiritual bypass because it gives you awareness. You have something to anchor to,
yep,
right? So that can help. So just to bring it back is when you understand, truly understand how this works at a fundamental scientific basis, then you can go, okay, wait, what might be happening may not be real because my human is making up a story about it that may not be true based on past experiences that I've had. So what's actually happening? I'm sensing, I'm feeling anger. What is anger? It is an emotion. What is an emotion? An energy in
Energy in
motion.
motion.
So that's how I teach when I'm working with my clients. Like,
Hmm.
that's how you can get yourself into a state of awareness.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this stuff
And
is not, it's complicated. It's not
right.
easy. We're not taught
Well,
this.
absolutely. Yeah, geez. I didn't do geometry at all today, but I did work on emotions and relationships and communication and all this stuff that they don't teach us that we have to just
Yeah.
sort of randomly figure out on our own.
Yeah.
Um, Beautiful. And of course, with that, with the talk of geometry, we've hit our time. So it is about awareness, right? And it's about self-reflection. And one of the things that I do at the end of the day is I sit through my day and I'm like, was I triggered today?
Yeah.
Did I have any emotions that I denied? Am I mad at myself for feeling a certain way? Am I, and it's like just sitting there and doing this end of day sort of recap,
Yeah.
this sort of like, how did I do today as a human kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
tend to do most days. Not formally, I'm not writing stuff down, but as I'm going to bed, that's what crosses through my brain.
Yeah.
Do you have a last tip on how people can be aware if they're bypassing and maybe what to do about it instead before we let everyone go?
Yeah. It's plug into your humanity.
Mm,
Pay attention to your human, because your human is actually the guide to your spiritual being, because the spiritual being is always evolving and growing. Your human helps you do that. So if your human's in pain, don't judge it, understand it, observe it, and then do something about it. And
yeah,
that's what evolves your spirit. So spirituality is really about integrating your human.
yeah. Awareness and integration. I love
Awareness and
it.
integration.
Cool. I am Kathy Groover. I can be reached at kathygroover.coach.
And I'm Terrie Huberman. You can find me at terriehuberman.com. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to our next episode with you. Bye.
Woohoo! See you next week.